The siege of Troy had been an ongoing episode for many years, and the last months had been marked only by battles and skirmishes. The inhabitants of Troy were going through hardships, but there was no sign of any surrender. But during this period, the Greeks didn't just stand by. Their heroes commanded expeditions to attack and plunder the allied cities of Troy. Achilles sacked 23 enemy cities, where he plundered many treasures, resources, and made plenty of slaves. Some cities offered no resistance to the invaders and were easily conquered. Their people were spared the wrath of the Achaeans. But others tried to stand their ground and refused to yield before the enemies. On the island of Lesbos, there was a great struggle for the taking of the city of Mythina. The defenders fought fiercely against the Myrmidons of Achilles. The defenders managed with great effort to repel the invaders. Meanwhile, from the top of the wall, Princess Fernades gazed passionately at the mighty Achilles as he led his men. In the evening, Achilles was visited by an old maid of the princess, who brought him a message. She offered Peleus' son the opportunity to invade the city if he agreed to marry the princess. Achilles agreed, and Fernades opened a hidden door, opening passage for Achilles and his men to storm the city. The Myrmidons unleashed all their fury on the residents of the city for making the Greeks pay such a high price, after stubbornly resisting in the face of a superior enemy. When the princess ran to Achilles lest he forget the deal he made, he ordered his soldiers to stop the young woman. With great contempt, he ordered her to be stoned to death. Achilles would never unite with a woman who would put her interests above her fatherland and family. For such a traitor, there was no fairer penalty. Achilles set out to invade the city of Thebes of Troad. It was a wealthy city, where the family of Andromache, the princess and wife of Hector, lived. Achilles dueled with King Eetion and his sons, who fought bravely, but the king and his 7 sons died at the hands of Achilles. In this city, valuable spoils of war were plundered. The most precious treasure was Chryses, so beautiful that she looked more like a goddess. But Patroclus told his commander that, if he was impressed by Chryses, he should see what was in the temple of Dionysus. Inside it was Briseis, a priestess even more beautiful than the previous one. Achilles was convinced that there was no spoil of war more valuable than the precious Briseis. With her by his side, the glory would be even more evident. On the other side of the Dardanelles Strait, the gigantic Ajax was attacking the Thracians, also allies of the Trojans. No Thracian warrior could oppose the mighty giant from Salamis. With his huge shield, he brought down the enemy lines. Ajax also captured a valuable war prey. He was the young Polydorus, Priam's youngest son, and for whom he had the most affection. Odysseus realized that the hostage was more valuable than any ransom. Therefore, accompanied by his friends Diomedes and Menelaus, he asked that a meeting be organized in Troy to negotiate. Odysseus proposed exchanging the king's most beloved son for Menelaus's wife. But, listening to the advice of his sons, Priam refused to return Helen. As a counter-proposal, he offered his daughter Cassandra to Menelaus as his new wife. Menelaus found that proposal outrageous and said he would not accept that the people who dishonored him should choose his wife. He declared that he did not want a wife from a barbaric lineage, and the Trojans would pay for that offense. Greeks and Trojans again failed to come to an agreement, and the king demanded that the Greeks be removed from his presence. The Greeks dragged young Polydorus close to the wall and stoned the boy to death. From the top of the wall, Priam witnessed it all helplessly and in tears. Achilles had now returned full of glory and treasures. Everyone celebrated, as the fruit of the loot was shared among all the lords. When Agamemnon saw Chryses, He immediately demanded her for himself. Achilles quietly gave in to the girl, for he had expected that the greedy Agamemnon would not resist a young woman with such attributes. But Achilles was smart, and only revealed his Briseis to Agamemnon after he had already decided to choose Chryses. Therefore, Achilles got the most precious of treasures. Briseis and Chryses did not know it, but they would be responsible for changing the course of the war. Achilles' wrath would be aroused.